In case you've missed my last few videos which have covered it, there was a new interview with the developers of Splatoon 3 in Famitsu magazine that came out recently, and it shared some really interesting details about the game. This interview originally was in Japanese, but it got translated by Rassikus. And within it, Nintendo addressed one of the most important complaints that people have had about Splatoon 3, which happens to be the stage design. Probably one of the most common complaints about the game is how the stages often feel pretty narrow. They've been called hallway stages many times before in the community. And these are honestly pretty valid complaints, whether you like the stages or not. It definitely feels like for a lot of players the stage design has slipped a lot since the previous games. And this is exactly what was addressed in the interview. The interviewer said, "One more characteristic of Splatoon 3 is that the stages feel more long and narrow compared to Splatoon 2. Was it a conscious decision to structure the stages like this?" Sato says, "The shape of the stages isn't something we decide on ahead of time. Not just in Splatoon 3, but throughout the series we've kept in mind when creating certain stages is what kind of play and ingenuity can be created in the characteristic parts of the stages. In addition, we also create the layouts needed for each rule set. The optimum shape of the layout will change, influenced by the main and special weapons that appear in each game." The interviewer then says, "I see. So, the shape of the stages are designed to match the weapons and so on." It's definitely really interesting to see Nintendo address some of their logic behind creating these maps. And it could be a good sign that potentially now they're aware of this feedback that they might work to improve the maps even more in the future. After all, a few updates ago we did see Nintendo actually adjust the map slightly, although it wasn't really much of the shape, it was more just like adding things such as obstacles and such. Although I think this update was definitely seen as a step in the right direction, it definitely was not enough for Splatoon players. And I think a lot of people would appreciate seeing a much more significant map rework. From this interview though, we definitely get the sense that Nintendo is aware of some of these issues. They don't necessarily say here that they're going to change everything up in the next update because, of course, like they said, they don't really decide on things that far ahead in time. But I think it's clear to see that they will definitely take into account the feedback that has been given by players, especially if it is making it to an official interview like this. If it wasn't something they did not want to address, believe me, they wouldn't have included this question in the magazine. It's also really interesting to me to learn that seemingly they've designed the stages based around certain types of weapons. I mean, that's always made a lot of sense in my opinion when you look at something like Moray Towers. It definitely feels like it is geared towards snipers and even to a degree rollers with all those nice flat paths you can use. But it does make me wonder if any of the new weapons that we got in this game have played a role in certain stages. I'd definitely love to hear which weapons you think have influenced certain stages the most. And do you think in the next update Nintendo may make even more drastic updates to the stages in the game? If you made it to the end of the video, then be sure to comment Splat Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on notifications for more. I'm trying to hit 30k subscribers before the end of the year, so your subscription would be really appreciated.